First of all, Maggie, I don't know if you heard the rambling speech the president gave tonight. What did you make of that? What are your thoughts on the day?
The day I actually thought went as well as it could have gone for Trump in a lot of ways, because this was an indictment that did not have, as a bunch of people on his team put it to me, a ton of surprises. They felt as if they were able to deal with this well. And then he gave a speech where he didn't really talk about that indictment very much at all. He did do exactly what he was warned against doing by the judge, which is talked about the prosecutor and his family, and talked about the judge and his family. And I don't know how that's going to go over. It has a feeling of Trump is almost daring the judge to issue a gag order, which a lot of Trump supporters had been predicting defiantly would happen. Trump, as we know, pushes the bounds of conduct over and over again. I expect you will see that here. Basically, his argument is what it has been, which is any investigation into me is unjust. I was really surprised at how much time he spent talking about the Mar-a-Lago boxes investigation, the documents case, which we know he is very preoccupied with and concerned about and talks about a lot. But that was much more top of mind for him tonight.
Caitlin, what are you hearing from your sources?
I mean, the documents thing really stood out to me, where he was talking about also saying that prosecutors or investigators are threatening people with jail time when they're trying to talk to people. We know Jack Smith, the special counsel, has been moving very aggressively, very tight deadlines, not just for Trump attorneys, but for witnesses that they've been subpoenaing. We confirmed the other day that they have called in members of the Secret Service to come in and testify as well. They're basically asking anyone and everyone. His comments tonight seem to indicate just such a high level of concern when it comes to the documents investigation in a really notable way. Obviously, the New York case is top of mind because that is where he was today. I think his comments about the judge were really notable, given that was what his legal team was most worried about going into today, was what he would say about that and about Alvin Bragg. But the documents thing, it really stood out to me.
Have either of you heard anything about what happened behind the scenes at the courthouse, in the court's building, what the president thought about the process of actually being under arrest?
He didn't enjoy it, Anderson. It was generally how I have had it described to me. I mean, he didn't speak to cameras, and Caitlin knows this, she was there, in part because the camera had been pushed very far down the hall, and I think he couldn't get close enough to it. But that was surprising that he didn't make an address ahead of time or after, because we had been expecting it. He was very angry. He was not enjoying it. There was some longer period of time leading up to him going into the courtroom while he was being processed, and I still don't know exactly what accounted for that delay, but something did happen there.
And can I just say one other thing today that also happened was there's infighting in the legal team over who is taking the lead on the New York case, and you could see it in the transcript where the prosecutors brought up Joe Tacopina, saying that he may have a conflict of interest when it comes to Stormy Daniels, saying they got a letter from her attorney yesterday implying that. He denied it, I should note, to the judge today. It wasn't even a hearing focused on that. He went out of his way to deny it. That comes after they brought on that new attorney that was there today. So I do think there is a lot of legal issues as well as to who is actually defending Trump in the lead position on that situation.
I mean, the former president has been fundraising on this. I mean, I'm not sure at this point how much they have raised. I'm not sure how much more they raised today. They're now selling, I guess, T-shirts with a fake mugshot that they have done. How do you think politically this plays for him in the coming weeks and months?
Listen, this wasn't a good day for Donald Trump, but he is the master of, taking lemons and making lemonade. He likes the theatrics. He likes to kind of build up the branding around this. We had heard, there were negotiations of doing something even more potentially scaled back than what we saw today. He wanted the mugshot. He wanted that imagery of the defiant leader, taking on the establishment. And it's working. That's the problem. Is we're seeing it. All the polls are showing he is leading. The fact that the other Republicans in the field are coming out and defending him. It is hard, at this juncture in a primary season, if people are not willing to challenge, for example, this indictment or any of the other investigations into him, what lane is there to run against him in? Because this is not he's not a substantive person. We're now, 7 years into this endeavor. This isn't something where people vote for him purely on policy. It's the characters, the theatrics that follow him. He's taking up all the oxygen in the room, and I think he's making the most of it.
It also makes it impossible for other Republican candidates to talk about actual issues. He's not looking to talk about issues.
No, he's not. And I mean, look at the arc of the day. He starts off as a small guy in a small caravan, with a small entourage going into a big building. And you can see on his face that it's, he's gone from reality TV to reality, that this is real. This is not Judge Judy. This is a real situation. And he looks shaken up. He looks ashen. But then he gets to get in a big plane and go to his big resort and have a big event and get all this stuff. And there's something about what's happening to me that's very disturbing. That he's kind of slipped the noose even today and is somehow having the conversation he wants to have about all this nonsense he wants to talk about. He's not talking about the country. He's not even talking about the case. He's just, pulling people down into his own mirror world. And I'm afraid it's going to be working. I think it's up to Republicans to figure out how to get us out of this situation because this is not good.
They don't know how. If Republicans knew how to do that, I think that we would have seen it a long time ago. And I do think that that is a point that you're making and it's a point Alyssa's making. We hear a lot from people around Ron DeSantis, for instance, that he's not changing how he's behaving based on Donald Trump. He's going to run his game. Donald Trump is doing what he's doing. And that's fine, except that Donald Trump was carried live on Fox News tonight. That doesn't happen that often anymore. And that tells you a lot about how the oxygen is getting sucked. Yeah, and I don't think Republicans know how to go at Donald Trump. I don't think they have ever known how to go at Donald Trump. I don't think that's changed. I do think he has, in some ways, tightened his hold on the party, even as his support has slipped.
I'll just say that Alvin Bragg made it much more difficult today to go at Donald Trump. Alvin Bragg provided fodder for Republicans to say, look, this is what's going on. This is what's happening to Donald Trump could point to Alvin Bragg and say, I'm being attacked. And it's hard for Republicans to say, well, no, he's really not. When in fact, when Mitt Romney comes out and defends Donald Trump, there's a problem. There's no space for a Mike Pence or Chris Sununu or someone else who's getting in the race to say, let me put some daylight in. Let me try to separate myself. How can you do that in this instance when we have this case right here, this indictment, which is largely, as the poll said, based on politics.
Well, and keep in mind, today, Nikki Haley was at the border. I believe Mike Pompeo traveled to Ukraine, and those things are not breaking through. What's breaking through is the message is, law enforcement is being weaponized against us. The system is being weaponized against Americans. That's what the Republican base wants to hear, and that's what Donald Trump is selling them. That you can't really break through on the policy substance.
Yeah.